He never imagined that doing the right thing would feel like stepping off a cliff with no ground beneath him. For most of his life, he believed in a simple idea: if you stay honest, if you choose integrity when it's hard, life will somehow return the favor. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But eventually. That belief was quiet, steady, almost invisible. It shaped the way he spoke, the way he worked, the way he treated people who could offer him nothing in return. It was the kind of belief no one notices, until it starts to cost something. And one day, it did. It didn't begin with a big moment. No dramatic turning point. Just a small decision that seemed obvious to him. A moment where he could either stay silent or speak the truth. Where he could protect himself, or do what felt right. He chose right. At first, nothing happened. No applause. No recognition. Just a strange silence, like the world had paused to see what would come next. Then slowly, things began to shift. The people around him grew distant. Conversations changed tone. Opportunities that once seemed within reach quietly disappeared. It wasn't obvious enough to call out, but clear enough to feel. He told himself it was temporary. That truth always creates discomfort before it creates clarity. That this was just the uncomfortable middle. But the middle stretched longer than he expected. Weeks turned into months. The distance turned into isolation. The silence turned into absence. The job he once felt secure in began to slip through his fingers. Not because he lacked skill. Not because he stopped trying. But because he had chosen something that didn't align with the system around him. And systems don't like disruption. He watched as others, who chose convenience over honesty, moved forward. Promotions, recognition, stability, all flowing toward people who had simply learned how to play the game better. Meanwhile, he stood still. Or at least, it felt that way. Inside, something heavier was happening. Doubt. It crept in quietly at first. A small question that echoed louder each day. Was it worth it? That question didn't just challenge his decision. It challenged who he was. Because if doing the right thing leads to loss, what does that say about the world? And more dangerously, what does that say about the way he chose to live in it? The pressure didn't come all at once. It built slowly, like water rising inch by inch. Financial stress followed. Stability faded. The safety he once took for granted became uncertain. Every small expense began to feel heavy. Every passing day carried a quiet anxiety about what might come next. Sleep became difficult. Not because of fear alone, but because of the constant replay of that moment. That one decision. That one choice to stand firm. His mind searched for alternative endings. What if he had stayed quiet? What if he had chosen differently? What if? Those questions didn't offer solutions. They only deepened the weight. And then came the loneliness. Not the loud kind filled with visible absence, but the quiet kind. The kind where people are still around, but no one truly understands. The kind where you stop explaining because it feels pointless. He began to feel invisible. Not just to others, but to himself. The person he once was, confident, grounded, certain, started to fade. In his place stood someone tired. Someone questioning. Someone carrying a burden that had no visible reward. And that's when the thought appeared. Not as a decision. Not even as a desire. Just a quiet, dangerous whisper. Maybe doing the right thing was a mistake. That thought didn't stay long, but it left an impact. Because for the first time, he considered the possibility that his values weren't strength, but weakness. That honesty wasn't power, but vulnerability. That integrity wasn't protection, but exposure. And that realization hurt more than anything he had lost. But something else was happening beneath the surface. Something slower. Quieter. Almost invisible. He hadn't broken. Despite everything, the loss, the doubt, the pressure, he was still standing. Not confidently. Not proudly. But still, standing. And that mattered more than it seemed. Because while the world measured success in visible outcomes, something deeper was being built in him. Something that couldn't be seen in promotions or praise. Resilience. Not the kind that looks strong on the outside, but the kind that survives on the inside. The kind that holds on when everything suggests letting go. The kind that doesn't need validation to continue. Days passed. Then more days. The external situation didn't suddenly improve. There was no dramatic turning point. No moment where everything made sense again. But internally, something shifted. The question changed.